Sexton has coaching vision, reads the back of the paper this morning. Grand Slam star wants Schmidt to stay beyond World Cup. He was speaking yesterday in the wake of the Grand Slam win, and he's pointed to his interest potentially in getting into coaching in the future. A couple of other rugby stories doing the rounds today. Gordon Darcy's column leads the way in the Irish Times. Ireland's next task is repeating those high standards without Conor and Johnny. A big task that is indeed. While Donal Lenihan's column leads the way in the Irish Examiner this morning. Saluting greatness, reads the headline. Donal Lenihan says Schmidt is the best thing to ever happen to Irish rugby. And then finally from the rugby stories this morning on the back of the Times Ireland edition, it's an interesting one. Kiwi coach in contention for Ulster job. Glenn Moore, who's the coach of the New Zealand women's rugby team, has emerged as a surprise candidate for Ulster's head coach vacancy. He's coached North Otago, the Highlanders, the Blues and Mid Canterbury during his career. The article also talks about Bess Henderson and Rob Kearney signing new IRFU deals.
Yeah, so Slam Heroes Want More is the back of the Mirror. John and on, this is the news that Jonathan Walters is going to continue playing, and yeah, a bunch of people want to see penalties introduced to the GAA as opposed to the 65 competition, and obviously outrage at Ross Sport Funding is the front page headline in the Mirror, who've been doing great work on this story the whole way through and who have kept that steady drumbeat up. Golden Oldie, this is Jonathan Walters continuing on. Ireland trio sign extensions, that's the contracts that Owen was talking about right there. Martial might be leaving Manchester United. Another really crappy transfer story 5 months before the transfer deadline day. John to go on, this is the continuing story there. It looks like Leinster will have Sean O'Brien, Rhys Ruddock and Luke McGrath back for their Champions Cup quarter-final. That's from Des Berry on the back of the Herald. I'll Stay John is the back page headline on The Sun. Amazing story from Neil Custis. Pogba's TV blooper. Apparently Paul Pogba has been dropped by Manchester United because he interrupted an interview, a post-match interview that Jose Mourinho was doing at the BBC to kind of show, oh look, we're still buddies. Mourinho was angry at this because he thought it was disrespectful, and so has dropped him for 2 games since. It's a Neil Custis story in the back of The Sun. Fronting up, veteran Walters wants to remain in O'Neill's plans, and Waterford pitch saw action despite the NFL ties KO. This is a great story from Michael Clifford here. It's that the match on Monday that was rescheduled for Waterford went on. Sorry, was the league game was cancelled, right? And yet the pitch was in fact playable on Monday, which would suggest that the games were called off for some reason, even though the pitches were playable. Yeah,
a match was played 2 hours before the fixed throw-in time for that particular match. So not only were they playable at the time of the match, they were playable earlier on that day before the supposed thaw came their way. I wasn't down there, so I don't know. Maybe there was a fresh sheet of snow at 1:30, just in time for the 2 o'clock throw-in.
Because it did seem like the players were going to go on strike. There were strong rumours that the players had reached a point of no, we're not. If the game's not on Sunday, it's not going on Monday. We're going on strike if it's refixed for Monday. And then the games were cancelled the next day. Were they cancelled after the players said they were going to go on strike? Was that what happened?
That's the key question here. I'm not quite sure about that, but
is this the beginning of the GPA exerting their power from within the GAA family, or was this simply a case of those grounds being unplayable?
It could be a watershed moment for the GPA, where the beast from the east actually sparked something within the GPA to be this really important players movement. So it's something we're going to follow up and see what's actually going on there in terms of that Waterford match being postponed. I'm just going to show you a couple of the other back pages today. I'll show you the front page of the Racing Post. It's their build up to the 2000 Guineas this morning, while the Guardian is going with their final countdown to the potentially defining set of international fixtures, says Barney Ronay. I'm not entirely sure if they're as defining as some people say, considering there's still a huge amount of the club season to be played. And the front of the Daily Telegraph then goes with cricket. Taking aim, Stokes has New Zealand in his sights as England prepare for first test.
They actually have a great story on the top there about dementia in football. We'll definitely come back to this, but there is a doctor who they're quoting who used to work for the NHS, who says that he wrote to Gordon Taylor, the chief executive of the PFA in the 1990s, warning him about the dangers of repeated heading of the ball, and that football was in danger of having a slew of people come forward who suffered dementia. It's a teammate of Ian Dowie's who is dead, who definitely had dementia, was diagnosed in his 40s with it and died in his 50s. And the name there?
The name
piece at the bottom. The picture, the guy heading the ball in the picture.
The man hitting the ball in the picture. Is it to Kevin Moore? Oh, these are the they've quoted basically a load of letters here to Gordon Taylor, and you've got Dr. Sadler as well, who you mentioned there. So Kevin Moore scoring for Southampton, that's the player's name. Against Nottingham Forest, 92 is the picture there. So Moore, the player in question.
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot more about that. He says that CTE is prevalent in footballers, and the FA and the PFA have had their heads in the sand about this, and that he informed them about it about 2 decades ago. So you're definitely going to hear a lot more about that, because no doubt we've seen what happened in the NFL.